This week, we are sharing an amazing client success story from a client who coaches female athletes, volleyball players, on how to be recruited to play college at the next level. And we're going to share how she actually surpassed her dream revenue goal in less than 5 months. Hey, I'm Amanda, and welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast, where I will teach you how to coach yourself, how to coach your clients, and how to run your coaching business. The number one goal of this show, though, is to help you be the best damn coach you can be so your clients go out and tell the world about you. So, let's do the damn thing. Hello, friends, and welcome to this week's episode of the Best Damn Coach podcast. I'm going to be celebrating a very amazing journey of one of my clients, but I want to rewind back to the beginning of my journey specifically. And I remember being at the beginning, starting my practice, having clients under my belt. And one of the things I would ask myself is, can I keep this going? How do I keep standing out? How do I keep attracting these amazing clients into my world? And I know that you may be having some of those same thoughts and struggles too. And so I would love to invite you to head on over to a new free training I'm offering at amanda-walker.com/masterclass, all lowercase and one word. And in that masterclass, during our time together, I'm going to be sharing the exact framework that allowed me to grow my coaching business by focusing on the most important thing you will ever do in your business, which is serving your clients. I'm also going to share the reason that most coaches struggle to grow their online business and feel confident as a coach. And I want to say, if you're a shiny object chaser, this free workshop is definitely for you. Once the framework I share inside this free training is implemented, I know that it will help you begin to shine as a coach and stand out amongst the other colleagues doing what you are doing. So head on over to amanda-walker.com/masterclass to sign up for whatever time works best for you to begin to stand out in 2023 so you can make more money without spending ridiculous amounts of money on marketing. Welcome to the BDC podcast. I'm so excited you're here because this week is one of my favorite episodes always, and that is bringing clients onto the show and allowing them to share their journey from the start out of their words, because there's so much power in hearing. It's exciting to hear it from me, and it's way better when they hear it from you. So today I am joined by Allison Roberts. First off, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I am excited to break down our journey together and also for you to share why your work matters. And I'm kind of biased, but it hits me at a good time because I have a 13-year-old who's a competitive athlete. It's also been a learning experience for me, but we connected, I don't know, probably like 5 months ago. You reached out, you had this little kind of festering of an idea, and you knew there was space for it. You just weren't really sure where to start, how to handle it, how to monetize it, and how to do it in a way that would make sense because you have lots of littles. How old are your kids, by the way, and how many, just so people can hear this?
I have a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. So things are busy.
Yeah. And I think it's important just to acknowledge that, because I think that's often something that we say, we'll just wait. We'll just wait till the kids are older. We'll just wait. We'll just do it when the time is perfect. And you are an example of what's possible when you just say, I'm after this, I have this passion, I'm going to do the thing. So before we dive in too far, tell the audience, listeners, just kind of what led you to the work you're doing right now.
Yeah. So I always grew up playing competitive sports, landed on volleyball because I just loved the sport, played it all through high school and then college. And after graduating college, I started coaching, and I coached at the college level for 6 years and just loved that and loved the mentorship aspect in particular, mentoring young women who were in that kind of middle ground that, we all go through of figuring out what we want to do with our lives. And I was really passionate about that and enjoyed that a lot. And then, as we talked about, I had 3 tiny kids in 3 years, and I have a husband who's in the military also. So I kind of understood that for our family, it wasn't going to work out for me to coach in college because you're gone every weekend. It's a lot of travel. It's hard on the family. And with my husband having deployments coming up, we just needed me to be at home for a little while. And through that, I stayed coaching high school volleyball through a local club in town. And my club director asked me to come in and talk about college recruiting because I played in college, I coached in college, and there were a lot of girls there who wanted to play in college. So I did that, and that was a lot of fun. After I would do those seminars, I always had parents and athletes come up and ask questions that I was like, how is nobody talking about that yet? You don't know that yet? You're a senior. Like, how has nobody stepped into that space yet? And just the more that I did that, the more that I realized how many athletes and parents were either giving up on their dream because they didn't have somebody walking them through the process, or they were just kind of flustering and just trying to do the best they could without actually reaching out to people. So that was really what sparked this idea of just being somebody who's educating them on the process, mentoring them through the process. And that's how I created How to Get Recruited.
Amazing. I love it. I want to take some steps back. I want to go back to the beginning when you and I first connected. I would love if you would just share candidly kind of where you were at in business, like what you had, what you didn't have, what you knew, what you didn't know, just to give some perspective to what's possible in a short amount of time.
Oh man, what I knew, nothing. If you had asked me at any point in my life if I would own a business, I would say never in a million years. I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm kind of just excited about people and all over the place. I never thought that I would own a business and be in that space. And then, Amanda, I don't know what it was in my mind, that the flip that just switched one day and was like, I think I'm going to do this. And I sat down and my husband said, well, you should write a business plan. And I was like, yeah, I should. What's a business plan? What does that look like? You know, that's what people talk about in college. When I had friends studying business, that's what you do. So
I love that people talk about that and nobody has a business plan, really.
Right, exactly. Exactly. But that's to non-business people. We were like, that's what we do. So I sat down and I looked at my husband and I said, where do I even start? I don't even know where to start. So in that moment, I was like, I'm not going to go back to business school. I'm not going to spend the time. Like, I know I have the knowledge to create value for other people. And I know that there are people out there who need this. I just need to find how to create that space to connect those two dots. And yeah, that's when I reached out. I was like, I need somebody who can walk me through this process, who can just give me more structure around my really excited ideas. Cause I was running 1,000 miles an hour, super excited, so much energy, but not a lot of clear direction. So that's really the space that I was looking to step into, finding somebody to help me through that.
Yeah. And that's the important part, is you knew you are a genius in your content. Like, you're really good at being able to help kids and their families, girls specifically, understand how to be recruited. However, it was when we first connected, there wasn't really clear offerings. You weren't making cash necessarily. You did have a small social media. You'd been growing a social media channel. I think via TikTok was where you had specifically started. And you were still kind of figuring all that out. I want to highlight that because I think it's very easy to listen to people's stories or to see somebody that's 6 years ahead of us and forget that they started from scratch with no followers, no money, no website, no anything. And you still don't have a website, by the way, that's operating and live necessarily. And you are profitable now, and you've launched, let's fast forward a little bit. You have now had the opportunity to kind of connect those dots, as you put it, and you have an offering suite. You're selling high ticket offers over the phone. You launched a 6-week kind of coaching program, and you've done this in 5 months. And I want to just celebrate you because you're a freaking action taker, which I love. That's like my favorite thing, because I know you're going to do the thing. But what do you feel like has been really instrumental for you to start connecting those dots?
Yeah, I think, really when I started this business, I didn't even understand it was a business. I had seen a lot of false information out there, essentially, about the recruiting process. And I read this article about how parents can't help their athletes. And it felt like fear mongering to me. And I shut my computer and I opened up my Instagram account that day. And I just started putting the information out there because I was like, even if this helps one person, that's going to be amazing, because there's athletes out there who just need one person to help them. So I was like, I'm going to put it out there, see what happens. And I don't remember at what point I was like, hey, this is kind of picking up some energy. This is really exciting. I think it was a couple hundred followers, and that was, not getting in front of any clubs. That was not doing any in person. That was just via social media. And I was like, I really think that there's something here. And I knew that there were a lot better ways to connect with people than social media, because it has been great and it's opened up a lot of doors, but it's also, I can only share 90 seconds of information on those channels. There's a lot of limits on those channels. So I think creating ways to reach to people one-on-one and just figuring out different ways that I can offer different people, because some people are in a space where they need a lot of help, and maybe they're freshmen, high school, sophomores in high school, and they're just getting started and they have no clue where to get going. And others might be seniors later on in the process who just need some clarity on which schools they should be targeting and how to get noticed by those schools. So I think figuring out different ways to reach different people in ways other than social media was kind of the difference maker for me.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. And I think this is just to reiterate for everyone listening. My husband and I were just having this conversation literally this morning. If Instagram were taken away or TikTok were taken away tomorrow, would you have a business? And if your answer is no, then this is a massive push from me to say, get support to develop a business outside. And that was one of the things you were already aware of, right? And being aware of that is already a foothold towards progress and towards sustainability, because then we were able to start thinking about, how do I grow my email list? How do I create an opportunity for people to opt in, right? Where am I going to send this traffic? So I own the email addresses to communicate to the people that want to hear from me. And so whoever's listening, like you just said, even if it's just one, if you're relying on social media as your only strategy, please reach out to someone, even if it's not me, to develop an action plan outside of that. And so one of the ways you've been growing your list is through workshops, right? Because we were able to go, okay, what's Allison's zone of genius? Clearly it's teaching and instruction. And so you've hosted workshops, and that's been a great stepping stone, and will probably continue to be a stepping stone for you. But from that experience so far and email growth, I'm curious, what do you feel like has been the self-coaching you've had to do to just keep going? You're raising babies, you have small children, you've never done this. We're all a part of the imposter thoughts. Like, what's been your self-support or coaching support that's really helped you keep taking action?
Yeah. And it's funny because so much of what I teach my athletes, and like what you just said, it all goes back to me as a 15-year-old athlete. Like, the mindset I had then really carries over now. It was, I forget which month it was, 4 or 5 months into this, I hit my income goal for that month that I had set like day one. It wasn't something astronomical, but that was I just woke up and I saw that number, and I realized, I was like, I didn't have to make that money. Yes, it was helping my family, but I could have just sat at home and I could have just ignored that kind of fire that was burning inside of me to do something else. But I woke up and I said, I'm going to do this. And when I saw that goal, I said, this is possible. Like, people need this. I can create something for myself. I can create more freedom for my family, while at the same time helping other people, helping high school athletes, helping parents who need help in that process so they can reach their goals. So I was like, I can reach my goals while other people can reach their goals. And it's possible. And you just created it out of nothing, like breathed it into life. And it fired me up that I can really create kind of whatever I want to in this process.
Yeah, that's the coolest part about entrepreneurship, is it helps us all break through the belief of constraint, like in the box thinking. Because once you step into entrepreneurship, you literally see, I can build something from nothing. I can have an idea and have energy returned to me because there are people that need the solution that I'm offering. And that is so empowering. And simultaneously, like, that's hearing you say that is what excites me. I'm like, I get to help her hit her goals, and I'm doing the same thing, right? And that's the domino of why we all need each other, because we all have our own zone of genius. So something I've learned from you that I want to dive a little bit more into the recruiting process, because I know that many of my listeners are mothers. They may have teenagers, boys or girls, by the way, that may be moving into or have a desire to play at the next level. And something I learned from you, and one of the things I talk about with all of my clients to help really get into a place of like deep content creation is like, what's the dragon you want to slay as an entrepreneur in your niche? And you shared to me early on that the dragon you want to slay is kind of these large scale, like recruiting mills that are just kind of charging large amounts of money and spitting out very generic, unpersonalized, and you can totally correct my languaging, but this is kind of how I took it in and distilled it, but kind of like very cookie cutter approach to recruiting, because you see that there's an opportunity to empower the athletes and the parents to do their own recruiting, to make it more personal. And so can you just touch a little bit on why, you're passionate about that and how they can empower themselves to take control of the recruiting process themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, again, what I learned when I was 15, 16, and I had to figure it out myself. But when I stepped into the space after I left coaching college volleyball, I stepped into the space where I'm educating student athletes. And I kept seeing, the transfer portal. If you're not familiar with the transfer portal, it's just student athletes at a college who choose to leave that college and go somewhere else. And the rates the last couple of years have been astronomical. It's crazy.
And it's now called just portal. Like
The
it's
portal.
like a black hole. Like when people talk about it, it's called the portal.
It's the portal. And there were over 1,000 student athletes just in the sport of volleyball last year who entered it. And I had this moment where I was like, why are so many athletes leaving? And there was the COVID grad year that any student athlete in college got an extra year because 2020, pretty much all seasons were hacked. So that definitely affects it. But there's also a large percentage who are just leaving because they're unhappy, because they didn't make the right choice. And I really believe that is because so many of these student athletes are not taking ownership of their process, that they spend these huge amounts of money on these companies because they think they're going to solve it for them. And so they do the recruiting for them. And then the student athlete is kind of lost in the process. And I really believe, like I said, everything I'm doing in business, it takes me back to being that 15-year-old athlete. Through the recruiting process, these student athletes are learning life skills. They're learning business skills. They're learning, like, it's the same process as how they'll find a job when they leave college is really what the recruiting process is teaching them. And when people are hiring recruiters, they're relying on third-party services to do it for them. They're not finding their voice in that. They're not finding their confidence that they can create a scholarship for themselves. It's the exact same thing I was just talking about. And student athletes are capable of doing that. But the missing piece is the education. So I saw all these people trying to place athletes, trying to do the recruiting for them. I didn't see anybody coming alongside of them and walking with them through the process, which is really where I wanted to step into.
Yeah. Well, something so simple as, and I've heard this from multiple different clients who work with teens that are, whether it's just college preparation or recruiting, but I mean, it's something so simple as, I'll use like my kids. They talk about these schools they want to go to. And I never thought to ask, hey, have you thought about the weather there? It snows like from October to March. Like, are you going to love that? And I think sometimes we're so focused on the name of a school and we forget that this is 4 years of investment of their life and a lot of energy and resources. So we want to help our kids and paint the most clear picture so they have proper expectations so they don't get there and go, oh my God, it snows here. And I kind of speak from experience because even though I went to college my first year 2 hours away and I knew it was going to snow, nothing prepared me because they had like, of course, like the worst snow season ever my freshman year of college. I did not like that. It limited me and I didn't love it, right? So I think sometimes it's very simple. It has nothing to do with the sport and you get to help them work through that and be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of those athletes, they don't like work through their process of all of their options because there's so many athletes say, I just want to play. And realistically, they don't just want to play. They care about the weather, the town, the, price tag. There's so many different things that go into that decision.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to know, thinking back kind of on our coaching relationship thus far and just looking at yourself, who have you had to become or what kind of habits do you feel you've had to dig into and lean into in order to step into kind of this new identity as an entrepreneur?
Oh man, there's a lot there. I think so. One of the easiest things for me to go back to is when I started my pricing. I was really just charging for my time when I first started out. I had no idea what to charge. And I was honestly scared to up that. Even I was charging like $20 for a conversation. And
I'm going to interrupt you because this is important for people to also hear. It's not only was it a conversation, it was an in-person conversation that you had to drive to, and you would often have to get childcare for. So you really could potentially even end up in the negatives after delivery.
Sometimes it was sometimes in person, sometimes on the phone, but either way, I know my time is worth a lot more than that. And the prep that I go into beforehand and after the fact, I was nervous to ask people for money and just stepping into that like business mindset because I hadn't quite been in that mindset for a long time. So I think the biggest thing from our sessions, it was one of our first sessions where we talked about how I think about money and how I was brought up with money. And I was kind of brought up in a house where you didn't talk about money. It was offensive to talk about money. And through those early calls when I was like, yeah, $20, I can't charge $20 for an hour-long conversation. I think knowing that you're giving a value to people and knowing that I am valuable, my time is valuable, that is okay to ask for money for. And it's not my job to tell other people what they want to put their money into, right? Like that is their decision. If they are looking for help in this process and I can provide value there, that shouldn't be uncomfortable to talk about. Everybody has money. Everybody is spending money. Everybody makes money. Everybody, has their own philosophies around money, and theirs doesn't have to be mine, and vice versa. That was a huge one for me.
Yeah. I mean, you've had so much growth, and it coming to the realization that it's up to other people to decide how they're going to prioritize their spending is a really important part of having success as a practitioner, as a coach, whatever you want to, call yourselves uniquely, is understanding that money is energy. It's a form of currency we've agreed upon in our culture that says you have something I need and I have something you need or want, and let's exchange so that we can lift each other up in some capacity. And to go from I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to bring this up if you didn't, of just seeing that progression of these baby steps. And I think that this is what it has to be, right? We have to take this baby step and we have to kind of look around us and go, oh, I can do this. And then we take this baby step again and we're like, oh, I can do this. And then when we start delivering client work and we get more realistic, you've never had multiple clients on your caseload to know what it feels like to manage being a mother, to manage being an entrepreneur, to know how it feels. And then you get more confident and going, whoa. And then you look at your athletes and you can say, honestly, I just helped their parents earn $120,000. Just let's say it's $30,000 tuition for 4 years. I'm making it up. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of reasonable depending on schools. $120,000 to sign because you gave them the tools and the mindset necessary to sign with a school. I mean, that's priceless for parents. And so to help you see over time that you're not trading time for money, you're creating transformation and you're adding value that could potentially literally help a child achieve their dreams. It's so important to see that in yourself. So you've done a great job there.
Thanks, girl.
When you think about kind of your greatest learning over the course of the last 5 months, whether it's serving your people or your own self-coaching, your own personal growth, what's been kind of the biggest aha moment for you?
Yeah, I think realizing that there's not exactly a finish line. When I'm creating this new business and I'm learning, and I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know if I ever will figure it all out or if any of us will, but it's okay for it to constantly evolve. I had my initial pricing that I set up in different structures, and then I coached a couple people that way. And I said, I think this might be a little bit better if we have a couple more meetings and maybe I add software that can, help their business and our organization together. And just figuring out different ways to serve different people, because no two of my clients are the same. There's some who are in similar situations. Maybe they're looking for similar things, but no two clients are the same. And so I think constantly looking at, is this the most efficient way? Is this serving my people the best way that it can? And if not, how can I make it better? So I think finishing up my first group coaching project, I was really excited about that. And I wanted to create something that was very comprehensive, but also low time requirement and maybe a little bit lower of a price tag. And when I finished that, I was like, this was awesome. This was really effective. How can I make it better? And do I do the same thing? Do I change it? I think it's kind of like this little, it's like this little puppy. My business was this little puppy who, needed a lot of training and work at the beginning, and it's grown up a little bit, and its needs are going to change as we go. And I think that's kind of a cool thing to reassess every few weeks to see how I can keep making it better.
Yeah. Spoken like a true coach with a metaphor in there around the puppy. It's a really good one. And I love it. I'll probably do it too. So, well, I would love for you to share with the audience where they can connect with you and take on more of your content, absorb more of your content, attend training. So give us a little shout out to where that might be.
Yeah, definitely. I still use a lot of my social media presence to help the business. On Instagram, you can find me at How to Get Recruited, all one word. I put a lot of information on there for free. And I also do have my website now, howtogetrecruited.net. I have a freebie if any of you guys are just starting the recruiting process with your student athlete that's really helpful to create good family conversations around what your athlete is looking for and what is going to be the best situation for them. And that's at howtogetrecruited.net/first step.
I love it. I didn't even know you hit publish on your website, I guess, because I knew you were leaving. Woo! It's like a live celebration. I literally just jumped on it right now because I didn't even know it was live. And that is so fun to celebrate live with you. But it just goes to show for those of you that are listening, we tell ourselves stories that we need the sexy things like a website, like a logo, like branding. And Allison is an example of what's possible without any of those things. She's 5 months in, she's thousands of dollars of profit in, and she's just hitting publish to a website. And so I just want you to know you can push those things out the window. The most important thing is for you to serve your people, to coach, make sure you love it, make sure it's a viable opportunity for you to serve people. And the rest just falls into place. It really does. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm so just honored to know you and that our paths have crossed and to continue to serve you and watch you grow, but also that you took time to share with, your journey with others so they can hear it out of your mouth, and to know that if you are a parent or anybody just wanting to connect in the recruiting process in some capacity, you have resources to connect with Allison now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Amanda. I appreciate you.
One of the most important things you will ever do as a coach is ask questions. So I've put together a simple go-to resource that you can have in your back pocket as a coach of 10 powerful questions I believe every coach should know. So go ahead and head on over to amanda-walker.com/questions to grab yours now.